Hello and welcome back to Harrison's Happy Hour. Oh man, Jacob, episode 2. I'm surprised we got this far. I mean, most people give up after their first episode. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Connor?
I'm better than I deserve, I'd say. I mean, I actually woke up at a reasonable hour, not before noon this time. Because yesterday, I was up till probably 5 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. Because I didn't have a fan in my room. I don't know what it is. There's just something about sleeping in complete silence that bothers me.
Yeah, I have to admit, I didn't wake up till probably around 3 o'clock or so. I was up late playing Prison Architect.
Why? What is wrong with you? 5 in the morning? Or 3 in the morning?
Did I say 3? I meant 8. No,
meant
I
8?
got up at 3. I didn't go to sleep until like 8 and like 7 o'clock, 8 in the morning. It was light outside before I finally decided to go to sleep.
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. What is wrong with me? I don't know. Though they say gaming is a mental health issue now, yeah. So I guess I need some help.
I think you do. That's awful. I don't know. In an attempt last night to try and like get to sleep early, because I started trying to get to bed around 10:30. I put up on my smart TV relaxing air conditioner ASMR 10 hours.
Relaxing air conditioner ASMR.
I know. We got about an hour in, and I was trying to sleep on the couch because the TV's not in my room, and I was like, I give up. So I just went in my room and I actually managed to fall asleep somehow. It was one of the better sleeps I've had, probably because I got only about 4 or 5 hours of sleep the night before, but that was nice. You know what else? I woke up early, before 9. Never done that before in like 3 weeks since I've been back home. And I woke up and I started to make like a pretty small breakfast, and I got on my phone and I got recommended a food review. Actually, it was this bigger African American guy, and he was going to the worst like rated New York City like pizza shop on Yelp, and he tried it, and oh man, I gotta say it's been a long time since I've watched a food review. And then it reminded me about this other guy. His name is Report of the Week. I don't know if you ever heard him.
I have not. I will have to check into it though.
So get this. It's literally just some scrawny white dude in a suit with like slicked back hair, and he just like he goes and reviews fast food.
I know who
like
you're
his
talking
car.
about now. I know who you're talking about.
It's one of the best things I think I've ever watched because he's so serious about it. And it's not just like a little like 2-minute thing like, oh, I ate the food, here's the ranking. No, it's a full 10 minutes. And he just gets like really deep into it. He starts pulling out these words, that you'd look up in the dictionary because you don't know what they mean. And he ate out this like In-N-Out, like it was the double In-N-Out burger. He was rating that. And apparently there's a hit and run happening outside of like his car on the road that like nearby where he was parked at. And you can just hear in the background just like this honking, and then you can hear like the metal like bending whenever the cars collide. And the best part is like underneath that, he had a recommended video, in YouTube, how they recommend videos. It was Review Bra doesn't let a hit and run distract him. And it's actually cell phone recording of the hit and run. So you get to watch the actual hit and run. And it's just like this beat up like old Camry just slamming into the back of this other one. Like you see him throw it in reverse and go about 30 yards back and then drive it, just slam back into it, and then just pulls away. And as the corner, it shows, the Report of the Week guy just like occasionally looking up, and it's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I think I've seen that video or part of it. I think it might have been on Critical's channel, Penguin Zero on YouTube. I think he did one talking about that. Very entertaining.
I gotta give him credit. He's dedicated to the bit. He didn't even let a hit and run distract him.
Yeah, I would have honestly probably like paused the recording for a moment.
I don't think
I think he literally said like, wasn't he like, oh yeah, if you heard something, it was a hit and run.
I think he said that. Yeah, it's like, oh, if you heard that, it's just a car hitting another car. Just casually. Oh my gosh. I think I think at one point there was talks that like he actually has like a mental disorder, like uh, it's a form of autism. So like he was just super focused. He just didn't let him distract him. But anyways, that was a little fun video I watched, and then it reminded me about the time I actually tried doing a food review back in, oh gosh, I'd say it was probably early September, I think it was. And it was me and a bunch of the fraternity brothers, and we went to a local like bar and grill about 20 minutes away. And I had one of the guys film me as I was doing this food review. Have you ever seen Dave Portnoy, the El Presidente, Barstool Sports, and he does like the one bite food review, the pizza reviews?
I've heard that he does those, but I haven't yet watched them.
So it's almost kind of like that format. So you just get one like big bite, and then he just reviews it off of that. But he does it with like pizza. He actually went to Mizzou, I believe it was the end of last year or the beginning of this year, to review Shakespeare's Pizza, if you've ever been there. I'm in Columbia, Missouri.
Shakespeare's.
Yeah, because it got voted for like the best college like pizza like in town on Twitter. It was some weird Twitter poll, I think it was.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good.
I've been there, I'd say probably 2 or 3 times. I mean, I don't live anywhere close to there, so it's not like I'm going there every week, but it's pretty solid. So, what's have you ever been to like a restaurant recently? Anything good?
Okay, my favorite restaurant around here happens to be a Mexican restaurant called El Maguey, and it is fantastic. I get one of two things: either their grilled chicken nachos or the El Toriado. They are both fantastic.
What's the second
Mexican food?
What's the second one? The El Toriado?
Yeah, the El Toriado. So it's it's like your Spanish rice, and then you've got steak, chicken, shrimp, and then it's got queso on it, and then they give you like tortillas on the sides. You can make like a wrap out of it.
Ooh, that doesn't sound too bad.
It is fantastic.
I don't know. I always end up getting the exact same thing anytime I go to a Mexican restaurant. It's just 2 enchiladas, rice, and like refried beans. It's simple. It's straight to the point. Can't mess it up. But I don't know. I don't like Mexican food. My preferred, I have to say, like dining out type of food would have to be, I'd say like Italian or Chinese.
Italian.
Dude, Italian food. Oh my
I
gosh.
love Chinese food.
Whenever I went to Maryland 2 years ago, I went to Little Italy there, and I went to this place called Angel's Pizza, I think it was, or Angelo's. I can't exactly remember at this moment, but I got a calzone, and it was literally half the size of like a pizza tray.
Damn.
It was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good. We went there the last day we were there that night for supper, and it's a small place. Like, it's not a big place. It could maybe seat 15 people at max. It was on this little corner, and we actually talked to
a hole in the wall type of back alley, but just delicious food.
Absolutely. We actually talked to the guys. It's ran by real Italians. It was 3 brothers, and we talked to one of them, and they actually said they moved from New Orleans after, was it Hurricane Katrina or Harvey?
I think that would have been Katrina, probably.
I think it was Hurricane Katrina, but they moved up to Maryland after that hit, and it was really good. I actually followed them on Facebook. Anytime they post stuff on there, I like it, and I'm always like, this is the best pizza ever. It was fantastic. Have you ever been to like a bigger city, like fancy dining place, like hole in the wall that you like?
I mean, when we went to Chicago, I ate at Giordano's, like the famous deep dish Chicago pizza.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I had about 2 slices because they're massive.
I know deep dish is deep dish. It's a lot.
Yeah, these things were like, if you took 3 like apple pies and stacked them on top of each other, that's how deep this freaking pizza was.
Yeesh. I don't know if New York style pizza is better, or deep dish? What do you think?
I do have to say I do like the New York style, the thinner crusts, the larger but thinner crust. I do have to say I do enjoy more than a deeper.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's something about thin crust that just turns me off. It's not a. I just don't think it's that good. Like there's the
Really,
fine.
I like the crunch.
No, ugh. It tastes like cardboard. It's like you're eating chips.
Wow, you must did not eat at the right places then.
Nah, man. I get like. I mean, my mom, she prefers New York style, so, the thin crust. But like most places nearby, like when they make thin crust, they make thin crust, and it's just like paper. I'm not a huge fan, I'd have to say.
My one wish is, in the old Ninja Turtle movies, how they always get like the extra cheesy pizza and they like bite it and it's like strings all over the place.
Yeah.
I want to find a pizza like that. I asked for extra cheese on my Pizza Hut pizza a while back, and it wasn't like that. It was just like some cheese that they'd sprinkled over top and it like baked on. I was like, no, that's not what I want. I want stringy pizza. That's what I want. I want cheesy stringy pizza with pepperoni on top.
Nah, man.
I don't know where to find it.
That's your issue. You're getting Pizza Hut pizza. That's the real issue. Ever since
I prefer Casey's. Casey's
the
pizza.
Midwest. If you do not live in the Midwest, there's a Casey's about everywhere. It's like this chain gas station in the Midwest, and the Casey's pizza is very good. Yeah, I'd say it's better than Pizza Hut. I can't say it's better than Domino's, but you're really not going to find a Domino's anywhere nearby. My favorite thing always is to order Domino's like at 1 in the morning because they're the only place like open on like a Saturday because you're just hungry.
No, we do have a like a Mexican like I would say like I don't know how to describe. It's like a Mexican place. I'd say it's kind of like Chipotle in a way, but they will open up at between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. on weekends. And it is great. Just I wouldn't recommend going close to 2, and during the daytime I wouldn't go 2 hours after like 6 or so, because they still have to like put out fresh food, so it may be a little old stuff on the hot plate, might not be quite as good, but good stuff.
I actually I had a friend. He worked at the local pizza place where I go to college at. And I actually love that place. Me and my mom go there anytime she visits. She used to go there, long before I was born. And I called up the pizza place one night. It was like 11 at night. And I call up because I have a friend who's working there. And this girl answers the phone. And I go, oh, hello. Like, I'm looking to place, an order for, like, the Meat Lovers Pizza. I give her my address and stuff. And then right before, the conversation ends, I go, can you please send your cutest delivery boy? and I asked for my friend's name. I was like, can you send him? He's your cutest delivery boy. And we locked the front door and made him come around back. Oh, it was funny. Good times. Okay. So I think that's enough of the food review stuff. We've been going on too long. One thing I gotta ask you about, Jacob. What do you think about American democracy? How do you feel?
It's a little weird the way, but it's what we're used to. It is what it is. It seems very. My take on American politics is kind of like what other people think of, like outside of the U.S. think of American politics, and that it's a little weird the way we do it, and it's almost feels like not politics, but the news. First of all, I've heard other people say it's like American news isn't news, and I have to agree. Half of the stuff we put as news isn't news.
Yeah,
it feels like scripted WWE kind of stuff. But our political system is okay. It's got issues, but whose doesn't?
I know. Actually, I was listening to a podcast today while I was working out. It's a Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell, and like his season, he does seasons. He's on season 5, I think was the latest, and the theme for the season was like democracy. And in the episode, he was talking about like a Powerball form of democracy, where instead of voting for people who choose to like run and campaign and things like that, people who want to participate and like try and get like this position, elected position, you know, whether it's like student council representative at a school or something, they would put like their name essentially into a hat type of deal, and then like it would be just at random. And I was just like, that makes no sense in my mind. But as he started talking, it kind of made sense, because, you know, the point of elections really, he said, are supposed to encourage participation, but in retrospect, they really don't. Did you think that's...
No.
I'd say, because he was saying how some of your best leaders are just, they can't like go out and publicly speak. They have a hard time presenting themselves to others, but when it comes to their policies and like their management, they're very good at what they do. And I kind of have to agree there. The main example being like billionaires. I mean, look at billionaires. Elon Musk, terrible speaker. Mark Zuckerberg, terrible speaker. I mean, they all just, they're so awkward. It's like they never took like a public speaking class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
That makes a lot of sense. I was just like throwing that around. It's like, I get what you're saying. Like, our system, it's almost like you have to have money to even attempt to, like, you either have to be backed by a party that throws their weight behind you and gives you lots of money so you can advertise and do all this, and in order to even think about participating. Otherwise, no one gives you the time of day.
Mm-hmm. Because, you know, who's to say that someone else is like able to lead a position? That's like one of the biggest forms of democracy, or the biggest issues with democracy. I can't remember which philosopher it was, but he was essentially talking about no one knows who's best fit to lead. You know, just because we vote for a president that appears and says that he's able to manage this position, that's a big position, being president or being like a senator or like a representative. I mean, think about it. You're essentially like, for your representatives, you're having thousands of people and like they vote for you and you're supposed to represent them. You know, isn't that kind of difficult to do? Don't you think? Represent each and every individual's ideas. I mean,
yeah, that's something that's pretty difficult to do when you think about it. It's a lot of responsibility and things to take on.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone's fit to be president. I don't think a single person should have that position.
Yeah, there's a specific quote that I'm trying to find right now. I believe it's by Tolkien.
What was that in The Lord of the Rings?
Here we go. I found
They're
it.
taking the hobbits to Isengard.
No. This this is the revised version. I wanted the whole quote. They cut out. Here we go. Here it is. My political opinions lean more and more toward anarchy, philosophically understood meaning abolition of control, not whiskered men with bombs. The more improper job of any man is bossing other men. Not one in a million is fit for it, and least of all those who seek the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying he doesn't trust anyone that runs for office because, in his opinion, and you know, I have to agree to an extent, what they're wanting is to control other men, and
Yeah.
who really should have that responsibility, and nobody should.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest issue with American politics in my mind. I mean, think about it. You're trying to get the entire nation to decide on one man to be the figurehead of the nation. And it's kind of difficult to do
Theoretically,
that.
you don't have to have the nation decide. You just need, since we're a republic, we elect officials who do that for us.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, but there's a lot of power for one man to have, you know. I mean, obviously the president isn't, the almighty supreme leader. He has his limitations, and he technically does have measurements in place to stop him from doing certain things, but executive power can be pretty scary in some instances.
I think there's been too much emphasis put on the presidential. I feel like that shouldn't be our focus. I mean, of course, everyone always looks to the big leader and everything, and then they'll blame things on them or will congratulate them for things that happen. But I think our biggest focus shouldn't be on like one giant figurehead, because honestly, I feel like the most powerful branch in our system, if you're listening in America, if you don't know this, I'm going to tell you the most powerful branch isn't necessarily the executive branch. It's going to be your legislative branch. Congress is the one who actually does most of the heavy lifting in our government.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where our emphasis should be as the American people. We should be focused on who are good senators and who are good representatives for us, not who's going to be the president. Because really, when it comes down to it, they hold less weight in what happens. I'm downplaying it a little bit, but basically they check yes or no for the most part, besides dealing with other executive choices. But in terms of laws and stuff, it's essentially check yes or no, and then it'll get kicked back to Congress if it's no, and they can overturn it if they want to.
Mm-hmm. I think you can take that back to emphasis being put on Congress to also a lack of electoral knowledge. You ever think about that? I watched a video where a man was just going around on the street and he was asking people to name the three branches of government, judicial, executive, and legislative. And people, I think it was about half, just couldn't do it. They maybe got judicial and legislative, but they couldn't get executive. And I mean, it's kind of scary to think about that. But then again, it's half the nation doesn't vote. I mean,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's no way you're going to get everyone that's eligible to vote because they either don't think it's going to count or they refuse to vote because they don't like the options.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to another point of we are primarily a two-party system, but there are other parties out there. Just going to throw that out there that if you are I need to choose the lesser of two evils. It's a great quote by Geralt of Rivia in the Witcher series.
Yeah.
Saying, I prefer not to choose either. He's going to make his own path. There are other options, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also hard to choose what is right, what is wrong. Can we be judge, jury, and executioner? Do we have the ability to deem what's right or wrong? And I mean, it really comes down to personal truth, I think, in that as well. Trying to deem what is evil, what is not. Everyone's born and raised in different circumstances and thinks, oh, this is bad, but this is good.
Different beliefs.
I know. And it's hard to do that. Get every culture, every person to be united under one belief or one goal. And you kind of see that now in American politics too, because it's very heavily Democrat or Republican, and there's just a massive divide. And I'm starting to think, I was really, when was the last time we had a united nation? I think the last time we had a quote unquote united nation would have been under 9/11. People were
a common enemy.
Yeah, people.
And then again, that poses its own issues because you've got then cultural biases that approach up in that sense. So around that time, people became very terrified of people, Islamic, Muslim, simply because of the fact that 9/11 happened, which is terrible. But I'm not downplaying the fact that atrocities happen to those people. Of course, they probably got attacked in the street. It happens.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like in general, our nation focused instead of bickering with each other. We focused on the one enemy, which was the terrorism, the atrocities that happened, of the Twin Towers. We focused instead on the global threat of terrorism versus just bickering with one another like we're doing now.
I think the biggest national enemy is hate. It's hate among the people.
Yeah,
it's so scary. I've been off social media quite a bit. I've pretty much stay off Facebook. I stay off political sides of Twitter because it's just so much hate. There's no real conversations being had anymore, it seems.
It's so toxic. No one knows how to. I shouldn't say no one, but it seems like the majority of people just want to point fingers and take sides. But honestly, that's probably the worst thing that we could be doing for each other.
I think I said this right whenever Joe Biden there is no official winner yet by any means. The election's not over technically, but when the numbers started adding, they started adding up, and it showed that Joe Biden was set to win. People were celebrating the win, and I was telling people, I was like, good on you that your candidate won, and blah blah blah. I don't really care who wins either way, because a majority of your problems are going to be your fault still. Because a lot of people seem to recently have put a lot of their problems into their political views. Have you noticed that? Like, I'm seeing friendships being destroyed. Yeah. I'm seeing just a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding. And as I said, I'm just seeing a lot of hatred from both sides, from either side. And I wish that as a nation we could find common love for man, but that is a very hard thing to do. And I understand everyone has their reasons for being upset.
Yeah, and I've noticed, kind of like you said, that I get that people want change. Like, change is necessary. Don't get me wrong. I love absolutely. Change and some things as well. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of people think that this one election will fix everything. And that's not true. Just getting a candidate in there is not going to do it. And I get there's people who understand this, but I feel like there's people out there who believe that just one single change of office, everything's going to be finally different or better for them, or they're going to be happy. That's not how it works. Like, there's still if you want change, there's still a long road ahead besides just putting someone different in office.
Yeah. It could go back to the Occupy Wall Street movement, where it was a protest against economic inequality at in New York's Wall Street financial district, and you have thousands of people in the street saying, Occupy Wall Street, this and that, but there was just no action. People didn't know what actions they were going to take other than go out there and say, Occupy Wall Street, and maybe vote for someone, but there needs to be plans. A lot of people in life need to plan things. They need to have goals in mind. They need to work for those. They need to work to accomplish these, because you can't get change without work. You can't get change without putting in effort and action. I mean, actions speak louder than words. It's a saying for a reason. But yeah, I usually typically take people's words with a grain of salt.
Sure, I'll be more likely to believe you if you're a better talker. Who isn't? Usually, if someone talks better, they're gonna typically believe them over someone who maybe hasn't thought out their words as much. Yeah, but at the same time, I still like to see someone's actions before I just throw my support behind them.
Yeah, I always I try to keep an open mind with a lot of people's ideas and things that they tell me, because in our brains, obviously, we have biases that we don't even notice, and it's very hard to filter out biases for some people. So I always try to keep an open mind to discussions like, okay, well, they may say this, but I don't believe it, but let's stop and think about where they come from, because I will never understand the struggles of being an illegal immigrant or a minority in a situation, things like that. There's things that I can't comprehend, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. Perspective changes a lot of things, and how you've been raised, the culture around you.
I know, like, my life experience, since I'm from a small town, is going to be so much different from someone who's from, middle of a suburb in, like, a massive, massive city.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up together, we both know we had it. I mean, I would say we had it fairly easy growing up. No real struggle besides, being probably middle of the road income wise.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest issue I see in some of this towns, can be income sometimes. I mean, I'm not going to talk about my financial situation or, my parents, but I do know that there's the occasional road bump. I mean, the economy crashing, the housing market crash in 2007, 2008 just disrupted everyone. But I was too young to realize that. And I've stopped and talked about it, and I've heard stories, and I realized, like, wow, I was so innocent to this, and I just never knew. And I'm sure it was hard on everyone else. Like, that was a nation struggle, and right now too is a nation struggle. It's not just one person.
The economy taking a hit from COVID, and supply
people
lines
dying,
being disrupted, not being able to go out.
Yeah, I hope once the vaccine starts rolling around, people just feel safer to go back out again. I hope people can just feel safe meeting people again. 'Cause so many people are afraid of meeting in person and, going to classes, going out to eat, just all this stuff. It's crazy. It's just mass hysteria. And it actually made me think about what's going to happen once these vaccines are available to the broader public instead of just first responders and things like people who need it first. What happens once it's, starting in like your Hy-Vee or your Walgreens or your local hospital? Are people actually going to go out and get it? Do people trust the scientists? Like, I'm sure there's massive concerns. Because, I mean, it's hard to trust some scientists. Like, back in the day, think about it. They used to promote smoking, asbestos, in your houses. They used to promote things that are terrible for you now. And I'm trying to think a couple other things, like thalidomide. You ever read into that?
No.
So thalidomide, it was sold under the brand names Contergan and Thalamid, among some others. And it was actually used as a medication to treat like a number of cancers now. Now it's used to like stop new blood vessels from growing on certain tumors. But back in the day, it was FDA approved. I think it was the 60s. It was the 60s. And it was actually recommended as a morning sickness remedy for housewives when they were pregnant.
Oh, yeah. I think I have heard about that.
It started in the German market in 1957. Here it is, an over-the-counter remedy based on the maker's safety claims. This is when it first entered the German markets. And then by 1960, it was marketed in 46 countries, with sales nearby matching those of aspirin.
Huh.
Yeah. And then it had severe birth defects in babies because, it stopped blood, I think it was blood vessel growth into like, because while, a fetus is growing, it needs new blood vessels to produce like an arm and stuff. So they would get many of them to be born with phacomelia, shortened, absent, or flipper-like limbs was the biggest side effect. So there was actually a small portion, a decent amount of children that were born with all these disabilities, with these abnormal extremities. And that was kind of interesting. And as I said, there's just so many instances of where scientists have gave out harmful substances. And I'm kind of worried about what is going to happen with a vaccine that a lot of people feel like was rushed. Will people feel safe taking it?
I think the thing to remember is I like to think that we're in a different era now where we're not just pushing something as soon as we see that it appears to work, that we're testing it adequately.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel safe taking it? Would you feel safe taking it?
That's the thing. I don't know.
You don't know? That's it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm certain at some point it's going to be mandated for college students to return to campus in person. So in that case, it wouldn't matter if I was comfortable with it or not. I kind of need to, but at the same time, I don't know. We've dealt with vaccines for quite a while. Vaccines they're not exactly a new science, I should say. We've kind of come to know what we're doing better. And I don't know if we talked about this on the show last week, but it's been kind of a global effort. So we've got more eyes on it. Whereas I feel like some of the issues we've had scientifically in the past is it's been pushed by like one group or one company that's done all the research, done all the testing, and they never had anybody else look at it. And then when other people come look at it, they're like, hey, there's problems. They're like, oh, oops, we didn't notice.
Yeah.
I feel like we might be able to bypass some of those issues this time because we have more eyes, a more diverse group of people looking into it, looking at it from different angles, finding out what the problems are.
Yeah. I mean, think about all the vaccines that have eliminated viruses. You know, polio is or was declared eliminated, but obviously some people are not getting vaccinated for it anymore because they don't understand like how dangerous it is, because there's a worry that polio will make a recurrence here in America because quite a few people are not getting vaccinated for it. Their kids, they're not vaccinating their kids for it because they never got to see it.
That's because they noticed, oh, well, that person didn't get vaccinated and nothing happens. They're like, it must not be doing anything, or it must be causing some kind of harm.
Yeah.
Well, that's herd immunity. And that should be that kind of, the word I'm looking for is escaping my mind. But herd immunity, the result of that should be reserved for the people who cannot physically take the vaccine because they are too weak or their immune system can't handle it. That's our job, to make sure that they're protected even though they cannot get the vaccine. That's what herd immunity should be used for, not for someone who doesn't want to take the vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you get into the issue of, should the government mandate a vaccine for everyone? And that is a big issue.
Well, usually in government, you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't harm someone else. If you're not getting vaccinated, it causes a spread of a disease that kills somebody, you are responsible for that. And therefore, mandating it in the eyes of the law really wouldn't, people really shouldn't bat an eye at, honestly, because, okay, you're not allowed to murder because it affects someone else's rights. End of story. That's why.
Yeah,
So in this case, it affects someone else's life if say you don't get the measles vaccine and there's a measles outbreak and it kills your neighbor's kid. You are responsible for that.
But it's also the neighbor's fault, depending on if their child was vaccinated or not, technically. I mean, it comes down to, when you ever said murder, I mean, there's different types of murder: first degree, second degree, and there's third degree. I don't think people are trying to purposely spread a bioweapon, essentially, with a disease.
I mean, sure, and you would take that into account, but at the same time, it would still be at least akin to negligent homicide.
I don't know if I don't think I could agree with that, because this is, we're the land of the free, supposed to be. And I don't think it's the government's place to tell me what exactly I can put in my body, and that's just a personal belief. But
I mean, I believe that as much as the next person, but at what point do we stand up and say, this is a problem?
Yeah, I
even if it's not the government, there needs to be some kind of, I prefer a private entity that looks over this and is like, sorry, you kind of need to do this, or you get fined or something. I don't know.
That's a hot take. That's a very hot take. I will say that.
It's a sticky situation because you don't want to tell someone what to do with their body, but at the same time, if it affects someone else, it's no longer just affecting you, it's affecting someone else. Then you have to take that into account as well.
Yeah, that's, as I say, hard topic to discuss, because there's no real right or wrong answer there, depending on who you are. But all right, I think that'll be it for this one. There's a few things that we wanted to talk about, but I think we'll save that for the next one. Keep it pretty interesting. No need to keep this too long. Jacob, you want to say goodbye to the listeners?
Goodbye. I'll pull something from a YouTuber. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Have a great week.
Yeah, happy. Oh gosh, what day of Hanukkah is it? I'm looking this up right now.
Has Hanukkah started?
It is the Yeah, it's the seventh day of Hanukkah, I believe. So, happy seventh day of Hanukkah. Happy whatever holiday you're celebrating. If you're celebrating right now, there's a lot of holidays that people celebrate, and I cannot name every single one of them. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you listen in to the next happy hour.